But we're live. So, hello. No one up here above me can see me, but the Twitch can still see me. So that's fun. You guys get the secret gestures I can make towards these two, and they have no idea what's happening.
Maybe I'll just open this on Twitch.
Well, you're blocked, so that's not gonna happen. Yeah, I unmodded you and I blocked you from our Twitch just so I
That's
can
fair.
have fun. I'm just gonna start just shoving things into the direction of your image.
Nice.
This episode of your favorite bicentennial lore podcast show is going to be about the Crown of Sorrow. The raid, the raid armor, the raid weapons, the raid encounters, the pro- prospect. Is that the word? Prospect? 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 What's the word?
Prospect.
The idea of
Are
a
you
hive
muted, Johnny?
shadow, all that stuff. Anyone
Prospector?
anyone want to just jump into something? Like I know Rhino actually had a theory. Maybe we can just like start off with that, like start off on a high note.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Let's burn this house down.
Yeah, let's go.
Okay. Well, it's I guess let me preface this by saying it's as good a theory as anyone else who plays a game, reads the lore, and has crackpot ideas about what's going on. So a while back we got all the raid weapons, and I started noticing some similarities between the images, which I've got them all figured out now, but it led me down a rabbit hole basically. And what I noticed was a lot of these weapons were year one weapons, and they turned out to be, I don't want to say reskins, but retoolings or weapons made to fit Calus's ideas of what he thought, or however that goes, what he thought they needed to look like and how they'd operate, whatever. So we've got the sorrow weapons, like for instance Galran's right hand, which is actually an old queen's weapon called her right hand. It's an auto rifle, royal guard weapon, and even in the flavor text it says under Galran's right hand, a reef-born auto rifle rewritten with hive voices to defend Galran the Failed, now yours. So there's basically something going on. He's retooling these Queen's weapons and handing them over to you in the raid, whatever that means. But the thing that kind of threw me off, and I don't, do raids typically. I just try to consume all the knowledge that's out there about them as much as possible. But while watching the raids, we're introduced to some mechanics where we have to blow up some purple crystals. And that made me think, where else did we do that? Savathun's Song Strike. When we were introduced to this mechanic where we have to destroy these purple hive crystals. So it suddenly threw off a light bulb in my head. What if the hive crystals that are in the raid are the same as the ones in Savathun's Song Strike, which are made out of Guardian? Well, we learn in the Savathun Song Strike that the hive have been creating their own void light, and they do that through death experiments, via killing guardians, harnessing their light, turning it into hive crystals, however that works. And then they use it against us or to lock off certain areas, whatever. So we destroy these hive crystals. And if you notice at the base, I don't know in the raid if we have the same visual to support it, but in the strike, when you destroy the purple hive crystals, down below at the base, you can see pieces of ghost.
You
Which
can?
kind of
I've never noticed that.
Yeah. So which kind of indicates that
Well,
the hive crystals that were blown up belong to guardians that passed away. So that makes me think, Is this raid? Does this raid have something to do with dead or fallen guardians?
So, I really do actually like the idea that the void crystals, because that's what they are. That, like, we're seeing it again. Could actually be guardians, like, kind of converted into that. But I don't think dead ghosts at the base of it would be a requirement for that,
Right.
because these crystals weren't just kind of formed in the immediate. Like this was what's it called, like premeditated. Like this encounter, it's like whatever Galron was like preparing to do. Like this was his plot to survive and win and kill and whatever. Whereas in Seventh's song, it was more like an immediate, like, we just need to get the crystals, convert you. We're going to kill your ghost right here. It's going to be one quick process. Whereas Galron, it could have been like a more thought out process.
Yeah, I could see that.
But if the void crystals are guardians, like which, in the strike Sabathun's song, there is a previous fire team that went in.
Mm-hmm.
That we know, we know
Led
that
by
this
Caliban, yeah.
Yeah. Well, is that the name of the Guardian, or is that the name of the
I thought
fire
that was
team?
the fire team.
Yeah.
But
Led by Takeo 3.
Yeah. So if that's who we go, like we know that there was a previous set of Guardians that went in before us, whereas on the Leviathan, I haven't even attempted the raid yet, but my understanding is that we are the first people to go into this deck in a very long time. So if the idea is that I definitely think it's interesting that there's a connection between, that the void crystals in the strike are created by guardians, created from guardians. But which guardians would the ones in the raid be created from?
Well, so here was my thought.
There are guardians who go into the Leviathan a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Menagerie, or like the Crown of Sorrow, which was us,
Mm-hmm.
of multiple teams going into the Leviathan, just as like the Leviathan itself.
Yeah, I thought of
Okay.
that too. Like if it was like a cyclical thing where people were just going in there and kind of feeding the machine, and it was just reintroducing the void crystals. But what I was thinking is, well, just to kind of backtrack a second, it could be a parallel instance where the Hive have learned how to power their own rituals through these deaths and sacrifices and death experiments over time, and from using the Guardians previously to harness and create void light, maybe they have just learned how to do it now, or the really speculative thing that kind of makes me go, oh my god, is what if the crystals are created out of Awoken somehow?
Hmm.
And that's
There
the
is a
part
lot
that's
of
been
talk,
really
yeah.
pegging me lately. And I've been wondering, because we have a lot of little things. Like we know now that the Crown of Sorrows was created by Sabathun and left as a gift, or however you want to phrase that to where it's properly stated. I'm not gonna argue over the minutia of it all. But if that in fact was a gift from Sabathun left for Calus to use for whatever means or whatever intent she had, and we know that she has encountered other guardians in several places. I mean, she has her hands all over the place in the lore. Could there be some connection throughout our history that ties us all back to the Awoken people?
So there was
Of the
something that you said there, which I didn't realize. So the Crown of Sorrow was put there by was given to Calus by Savathun. I think you said that. Is that
Correct. Well,
Laid on a stray war moon as a trap for Calus.
is that written? somewhere.
Yeah, it's on the raid. So on the raid armor, the hunter's helmet, the Shadow's mask, the Crown of Sorrow came from one of my Athenaeum worlds, a hive repository, and then on another one, I think it's the helmet on the Titan,
Shadow Greaves
Shadow's
Shadow
Helm.
Greaves.
are on a
Shadow
stray
Greaves.
war moon.
Yeah. There's a few places where
Ah.
he mentions it, and then there's another spot where he says he suspects. Okay, but the crown was a trap for me. I suspected as much, which is why I didn't wear it.
Mm.
So he talks about how it was kind of left, and then he's saying he believes it was from Savathun, which would make sense. That is kind of her style
Yeah.
of things.
Yeah.
So it's
Well,
kind
plus it has the runes, which everybody's talking about now, inside
Yeah.
the helmet once you defeat them. And so people are trying to decipher that cryptography, but
Well, it's got a bunch of the normal hive runes, and then it's got that extra one that is very much new to us.
mm-hmm.
There it is. Stray
Interesting.
War Moon. Scions guessed it was ritual text surrounding it, claimed it was crafted in imitation of the Taken King's power to compel wills. It did the opposite, of course. It consumed my loyalist Galron. But,
Yeah.
so, on the topic
That's
of the
interesting.
crystals...
I hadn't read this entry before.
Yeah, it's easy to miss them, especially when they're just all so similarly named.
Yeah.
But on the topic of the crystals, I really like the idea that it was used by Guardian Death, and it's specifically the Guardians that are going into the Menagerie. Even though no Guardian has been there before, like recently, it's a little difficult to plot what's happening chronologically when the raid drops day one, like it did. But
Yeah.
you know, we had to go through Menagerie. We had to do the Menagerie before we could do the raid.
But I mean, are you saying then in that case that the Guardians who went through the Menagerie, some of them died and were turned into crystals?
Yeah, that's how I interpreted it. Because when you go through the Menagerie and you ever have those hive encounters, Calus is saying, "These are my hive." Blah 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 blah. Like he still had some part of control of them. And then the ogre that you fight on the second week of Menagerie, it's whatever Calus's beloved or beloved of Calus or something like that. So it's he still had some control of at least a small faction of hive.
Right.
It would be ones who went into the Menagerie, because the crystals are in the Menagerie.
And that's what I mean. The opening to the Crown of Sorrow raid is where we fight the Arcborn fight, which is a hive fight, the Mockery, which is a hive fight, and then also now the Vex Hydra boss, which is currently this week, which is obviously a Vex fight. But that's the opening of the Crown of Sorrow raid. So it's like, it's very much the hive have a strong presence in that encounter. So saying like, how did Guardians get in there? And that's why I'm saying, what if it wasn't such an immediate, what if it was more planned out? Guardians were killed by hive on order of Galron and used to create the crystals in his throne room, which is I think it's called the Kingdom of Sorrow. That's what he called it.
Yeah, I think it is called that.
That sounds very like what Calus would do.
Yeah, it's also Calus would go
old
nuts if
species.
Galron was killing Guardians and turning them into crystals to make a defensive wall. He'd be like, "Oh my god, this guy's the best. Look what he's doing to these Guardians." He'd be thrilled.
Yeah.
See if you could find which one's good. Like, this is awesome.
Yeah. Well, what's funny is just looking at the weapons. Okay, so here are the raid weapons, and I'll just lay them out real quick, and people can look them up in the chat or with their spare time, whatever. So let's start off with the machine gun. Here's the thing. Let's start off with the fact that there's only a set amount. There's only 4 that we know of at the moment, and the exotic, which turned out to be, a screaming Tasmanian devil. But the legendary raid weapons we get are Bane of Sorrow, Emperor's Courtesy, Calusay Noblesse, and Gowron's right hand. So the Bane of Sorrows machine gun is an old Queen's one that we were introduced to in Taken King. And it was Bane of the Taken. And it has the huge Queen's mark right on the side of it. And the flavor text for that one was "The King is Dead," which, we all know that was kind of like a hint to the Taken King storyline. But all of the weapons that we get from Crown of Sorrows have the same flavor text, which simply reads, "A reef-born heavy implement rewritten with high voices to make way for Gowron the Failed, now yours." So they're all like a variation of that kind of text. It's basically Calus's version of a reef-born weapon.
It's really weird to get weapons that say Galron the Failed before you defeat Galron.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say that.
Well, maybe he was a failed experiment before we failed him in the raid.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's fair. Because he was
true.
meant to lead the Hive as a shadow.
Yeah.
And he immediately got taken over by the Hive.
Well, after I read these, I want to read something after this too, but I want to get through these real quick just to kind of draw some conclusions. So that was the machine gun. Then we had the shotgun, which was Emperor's Courtesy, a reef-born riot gun rewritten with high voices to aid Gowron the Failed, now yours. Okay, that one was the Queen's shotgun called Her Courtesy, which that one says etiquette is a powerful weapon. So it's just kind of, a play on words with the word courtesy. The next one was a scout rifle, Hygeia Noblesse. The Reef Cryptarchy Hygeia Division is its largest, with over half of the asteroid devoted to their sprawling libraries. That one was kind of interesting to me. And then we have Calus's version, which is Calusay Noblesse, which is kind of a play on words, like he kind of hijacked the Hygeia. A reef-born long rifle rewritten with high voices to arm Gowron the Failed, now yours. So that one was kind of weird because it kind of has a duality with Calus's insatiable need for all of the finer things in the universe, such as, like the opulent, the wine, the gold, the ornaments, the jewels, and higher learning. So vast libraries of the Awoken and the Reef, he's interested in that. Just all the things that he kind of surrounds himself and feels are a part of what it's supposed to be godlike. Like if you're godlike, you have to embrace all of the things of the world, the world's riches, the universe's riches, yada yada, and including that was the noblesse. So it was just kind of a neat idea that they would reskin these, which is a horrible term, but they gave them a little bit of lore, in the flavor text buried in there. And then the last one, of course, was the first one, which was Her Right Hand, the Royal Guard's weapon of choice, which was the auto rifle, and then Gowron's right hand, a reef-born auto rifle rewritten with high voices to defend Gowron the Failed, now yours.
So, also in the Menagerie, and actually I think it's during Mockery, I'm pretty sure. So with the Menagerie, you have encounters. You have the Gauntlet, which is kind of the play on the original Leviathan Gauntlet encounter. And you have Crystals, which is a play on the Argos encounter. So it's kind of doing, the Cabal, the Vex. You have Hunted, where you're facing the Hive. You have Arkborn, which is an Arkborn challenge. But so Mockery is one where Calus always talks about the Awoken, and he talks about like he's prepared to kill the Awoken. He's like, "Do you want me to? I'll do it." And it's kind of this like,
you dare me?
Yeah, but it's just like, does is he trying to like tell us that he wants to kill the Awoken? Because we're like, we need to save the Awoken. This curse needs to be broken. And he's like, do you want me to kill them? Yeah.
I mean, he doesn't. There's so many instances. There's a few instances where he makes it clear that he really doesn't like the Awoken Queen.
Yeah, that too.
And there's that lore entry where
Chronicon.
One of the Chronicon future fanfiction entries where he kills Petrovenge.
Yeah.
Without a second thought. That one was.
Yeah, just like sploop.
Yeah.
He's like, oh yes, I of course, good idea. I'll kill Petrovenge. Oh, you didn't mean that. Oh, right. Oh well.
Shame.
Mistakes happen. That's fine.
Well, I thought it was neat that was kind of a clue as to like his intent, or they were like basically, no, we were just trying to tell you could have more opportunities for shadows because they're their own race.
We need an exo shadow, not less.
Yeah.
Lol.
Lol.
Classic Calus.
So real quick,
I guess that would actually kind of be classic Calus, right? He sees the Awoken people suffering from a curse that they can't escape, and he's just kind of like, yeah, I should kill them.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I should end that suffering, right? Like that's his thing.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking.
Saying, Guardian? I cut you off there.
So I've just been rereading through all of the raid stuff.
Yeah, same here.
This came up, but there is shadow robes.
Mm-hmm.
Actually confirms Rhino's theory.
Oh shit! Really?
Yeah. So here's the text from Shadow's robes. Find entities you met in your battles with Gowron, the Sorrow Bearer. You've seen them before. Red War, just prior to my arrival in the Soul System.
Oh my god! I know this
Praxic
one,
Warlock,
Oh, wow.
Takeo 3. Transmuted by the Hive into crystalline entities of pure void, which you and your ghost exploited to dismantle the Hive ritual taking place. I think it was magnificent.
You're cutting out pretty bad. I'm not sure if that's just on me.
No, it was cutting out a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, he's right.
It's just,
I didn't
it's
even
just Guardian's voice.
I didn't even see this one or read this one at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The sad thing is, I actually did read that one too. I just completely forgot it, so I'm gonna put that in chat. That is a perfect example. Yeah, exactly. The crystalline entities you met in your battles with Galron, the void crystals, you've seen them before, sometime during the Red War. Yep, that's
Okay, this is perfect. So what I was going to say before he pointed out, holy crap, this is all here. Something that I realized in Eververse. So there's little hints planted everywhere in the game, and sometimes it's hard, and it could be just straight up, nothing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or sometimes it could be, holy crap, yeah, that's definitely a hint. But it's neither confirmed or whatever. But so in the in Eververse, we're brought some items, some ornaments for these new Menagerie weapons. Okay, if you get the Menagerie weapon, that opens up the ability to put an ornament from Eververse on there. The ornaments in Eververse are basically, if you read them name-wise, they are the names that represent Calus's initial opinion of the Guardian during the Red War. Like, for instance, because they look so beaten up and dirty. Yeah, because they look so beaten up and dirty, he's charmed by how the Guardian is basically a broken bird to be healed, which is the name of one of them, and so
that's
on.
the only one I knew. So I was like, broken bird to be healed. Huh.
Yeah, and I confirmed this with Z. Just I was trying to understand some of these things, and she kind of laid that out for me. She's awesome. It's great that she has so many people bothering every day. I try not to bother her too much, but but yeah, that was really nice of her to just kind of throw that at me, like, hey, by the way, did you see this? I was like, no, thank you. But yeah, so it kind of shows how Calus views the Guardians. And so these weapon ornaments, if you read the names of them, they're very much a statement on how he thinks of you. So like one of the weapons, which is like Calus Mida tool, or Calus Mida, whatever. It has an ornament which is called defenseless to be armed. So just in that name, he kind of sees you as like this defenseless person that he's going to arm for his own. He wants to very much to take you and mold you into his own, just like all the shadow lore talks about, stuff like that. But these skinned weapons, if you look at the ornaments for them, they're beaten up. They look very much like the basic, rare, and common weapons that we were familiar with at the very launch of the game. They look torn down, scorched, like right after the Red War blew us up when we were given those crappy weapons at the beginning that we threw away as soon as we got something better.
The Traveler's
That's
Chosen.
what these.
That's what these kind of look like.
Yeah. So I just thought that was really neat.
Yeah.
Interesting. I need to read more stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like for us, it's like a race to read everything as soon as it comes out, and then you read it once, and you're like, "Wow, that's so cool," and you don't connect any dots yet. It's just like it's just all floating in the air.
It's a blur.
Of your brain, and then you read that one thing,
what...
makes a knot, connect a dot, connect another dot, connect another dot, and then you've connected two things.
Yeah.
That's what's great about our group is like, for instance, I'm delving into the weapons and just hammering every visual I can to try to understand what the heck's going on. And then you guys are like digesting the lore and the intricacies of all of that. So yeah, it's pretty neat.
Yeah. So, well, I just want to know your opinions. Has everyone here? Because Rhino, you said you don't really raid. Have you ever done a Leviathan raid at all?
Yeah, I have an alternate account that I play around with sometimes, so I'll just jump in like LFGs and goof off and stuff like that. Just because I want to experience them on. But on my main character, my wife and I play together, and so I don't do anything but play with her. So if she wants to play Destiny, we play Destiny. If we want to play Halo, we play Halo. But that's pretty much all we do. And then we'll run through the missions and just crucible a lot.
So then everyone has done the encounter, the ritual baths, right?
Yeah.
So I just wanted to talk about that because on the raid armor we get a little insight into what those are. So actually, before I go to that, in Confessions, the Scion meets Calus in the ritual baths, and like they just sit down, and that's where he confesses that he hasn't given up his past beliefs of his chalice and how it's like a gift to the ancestors, etc. But so they just took a bath there. They just hung out there. That's where they were, relaxing. That was their day spa. But if you look at the Shadows plate, the Titan raid armor chest piece, the lore entry is kind of crazy because it talks about exactly how he created Galron. So we had the narrative preview, which shows us Galron about to be fitted with the Crown of Sorrow, and he's like, I made you specifically to be kind of like a little bit hivish too, so you'll be ready for this. And we're just like, what does that mean? How did you make him? And now we're seeing it. You've no doubt visited the ritual baths aboard the Leviathan, have you not? If you haven't, you must. And true, it is a place of recreation for my beloved soldiers, but did you know that they are born there? Yes, the joyful axe-wielding ceremonial bathers are but seconds into their lives when you cut them down. They are created from genetic patterns of the most virile martial artist of a bygone Cabal era. That's nuts.
Yeah, it is.
He's just printing Cabal.
Huh.
Like that is a power that is so nuts. And he goes on to say, and Galron the Sorrowbearer was once one of them. I played with his pattern, made certain he would be strong of mind and will as much as body. So not only are they just printing Cabal, but Calus is like a genetic scientist, and he's like, now let's move this DNA strand over here and this one over here, and now dinosaurs are back.
Life
finds a way.
Next up, the Swamp Things.
God creates dinosaurs. God destroys dinosaurs. God creates man. Man destroys God. Man creates dinosaurs. Dinosaurs destroy man. Women rule the world.
God turned out to be a woman.
I mean, I got a quote. One of the greatest books ever. And movies. I don't want to get way off topic.
Yeah, that would be really unusual for us.
Well, I mean, I didn't want to talk about my family vacation when I was 13, but
Did you go to an
kind of
island?
already are.
I went to Universal Studios and I cried when I went through Jurassic Park. I was so excited to be there. I was like, this is happening.
I thought you might have gone to a mysterious island in the Pacific Ocean.
Also that.
Hmm.
It's crazy.
Nice.
So many people died. Great trip.
So yeah, he's genetically engineered. Well, I mean, it's kind of it's. I remember having a discussion ages ago about, like, you know,
With Kex.
Yeah, about
Kex,
you know,
Captain Kex, man. He was on this shit from D1. He was like, I don't know. I don't like it. The Cabal or something. He's like, they keep calling them morphs, and he was this on it.
Yeah.
He was ahead of the time. I did not believe
things.
him. I was not
yeah.
believing him, but he called it. So shout out to Captain Kex.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I believed him from day one.
I
was on it. I was like, yeah, you got something there. Well, because one of the very first Grimoire cards we ever had, you know, basically tells you nothing about the Cabal, and it was one of the worst things when we were first introduced to Destiny in game. We were like, oh, we're reading all these things about these races and how cool they are, and then there's these giant piranha-faced space rhino turtle guys that, what the hell are they? And then you go to read about them and you're like, okay, yeah, tons of stuff about military crap, but what are they? But what are they? No,
Yeah.
what are they? And then finally you read a line, they're just a morph. What the hell is a morph? Anyway.
I don't know if it was very popular anywhere else, but there was this stop motion animation in the UK called Morph, and it was great.
So going back to the raid armor, another thing that I found really interesting was actually also on the Titan helmet. So Galron failed, but Calus has not given up wanting to find a hive shadow, right? He is determined to have that. And so we have entries that talk about how he tried to tempt Toland with an old trinket of his. He tells us if we find Eris to send her to him. But also on the Titan helmet, it says, don't your kind love to tempt hive artifacts? I've been familiarizing myself with Guardian histories, and they say one of you worship the hive to the extent that he betrayed the light. If this story isn't a sham, a shadow of your Titan tribe would be perfect for replacing Galron. I need someone hardy like you to carry the crown in his place. So it's like, this motherfucker's talking like Dredge Yor right now. Like, he's like,
Yeah.
Reza Lazir, he was all about that hive. Let me get a Titan up in here to wear this helmet. And that's a big helmet. Do you think that thing can shrink? Is that like a magic helmet? It'll fit its wearer, like the Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants?
I was thinking more like the ring from Lord of the Rings, but yes, that's also a good analogy.
I was hung up in wondering why it has a crack on just the one side. Like, what happened to the helmet previously that caused a little crack on one of the horns?
Blame the Scions.
They dropped it.
I'm trying to find a picture of the crown.
They're like,
they were trying to test it, and they like overloaded something and like cracked it just a little bit.
I can imagine too.
Or how they wanted to is they just dropped it and broke it, and like, oh no, dang it!
Shh! Don't tell anyone. Quick!
Oh no! Like, Garon goes crazy. Like, you didn't do anything. Don't worry about it.
You know, the Crown of Sorrow raid actually was kind of reminiscent of Last Wish in that the point of the raid was to get something from the boss and then bring it back to Calus. So, like, I'm a little disappointed, and I wonder if maybe they were thinking about doing it. But, like, you know, the heart encounter in Last Wish, you carry Riven's heart to the Techians who are going to be there to cleanse it. And, like, maybe they were thinking about it, and then they're like, yeah, and Galron's going to be 20 stories tall. And then like they're like, so how are they gonna carry the helmet back to Calus? Like this, all 6 guardians is carrying it on top of them, running as one to
Like a
the
backpack.
end. That would just be. I think it would be fun to do another carry back encounter like that, and I think it would, like especially if we were gonna bring it back to the real Calus, like we're gonna see his true form. That'd be freaking
Well,
nuts.
I like what you said before anything happened, right when we were looking at the when we were looking at the teaser videos for the opulent season. Anyway, the first thing that you said when you saw that, or you heard about that helmet when the thing went live, you were like, "It's an ass hat."
It's Oryx's ass. Galron's wearing it as a hat.
It finally got our ass hat in game.
Yeah. Oh man, Luke Smith promised. He never delivered, man.
Yeah.
I'm expecting it was one of the things Activision was holding them back on, and we're gonna see it in Shadowkeep.
Yeah, 100%.
Maybe.
This is they were under a contractual obligation to
They
deliver
promised
Zero.
me.
Yeah.
No ass hats and no beards.
Yeah, those were the 2 statements they signed when they signed up with Activision. They're like, I don't know how this is gonna affect us badly, and now they're just like, oh my god, such a mistake.
No barbershops in Destiny.
So
Yeah.
I just found a picture of the crown. That is
Okay.
Oh, yeah, I also did, but I didn't know. Well, like I found loads of pictures of Galran wearing the crown. I don't know.
Garon is real.
Well, so okay, real quick, before people go crazy about the whole Tolan thing, I don't know that we are, but I'm just saying for the people listening out there, there are a lot of people speculating that Calus is, or that something is might be showing up soon, which would be Tolan's old weapon.
Yep.
Yeah. And then what I've already heard out there is people making reference to the old ornaments that were on that weapon, which had skulls that looked like an Ahamkara.
Yeah, the dragon killer, whatever.
Dragon's Bane.
Dragon's Bane.
Yeah.
I like the other
And
one,
then
the
we
white one. That one
Voodoo.
was nice.
Voodoo one, yeah.
Yeah,
That one was
Hoodoo.
good. Hoodoo. Voodoo. We do.
I love that song. I was singing that song to my girlfriend the other day, and she didn't get it. I was like, "Can you just please sing backup for me for once?"
It is. A
Yeah,
good
Hoodoo
song.
was cooler because it had the bird skull, but it looked more voodoo-ish. It had like the little trinkets on the side and all that. But okay? So I'm sorry.
No, that was my fault.
What I wanted to say to that is we can't confirm that our Hamkar are behind all of this encounter or have anything to do with this via that little route that some people are starting to speculate. But what I wanted to say was something that was neat about the exotic weapon that we get from Crown of Sorrow raid is that it is a Tasmanian devil, which it's called Taraba, which is like an Australian, it's an old indigenous word from the Australian indigenous people, that, and their dialect that crossed over when the Australians, took over Australia, blah, blah, blah. So Taraba means Tasmanian devil, basically. And if you look at the gun, it's a mouth with the jaws wide open, and there's even the evil red eye. So when you're using the gun and you're getting hit, it charges the weapon and it makes it work even better. So as you're taking on, hits or whatever in game, it's charging up and making the weapon work even better. And it glows a red eye, and then there's these like serpentine, tentacly red-looking lines that go down the side, and it's almost like a meter that fills up. So once it's completely full, the gun is like doing twice as much damage and tearing through enemies, and you're not having to reload or any of that craziness, and it just works ridiculously well. So one of the coolest things that I thought about was how the gun is to emulate like a Tasmanian devil, and how a Tasmanian devil will protect itself voraciously, but it's more of a humble creature unless it feels threatened or if it's got its own young that it has to protect.
Wouldn't
If you met, yeah, go ahead.
wouldn't Dark Drinker resemble a Tasmanian devil more? You know, the whole
Dark Drinker, the
yeah,
sword.
the spinny sword. You know, because you do that spin
No.
move. That's what Tasmanian devils do, right?
Yeah. So anyway, yeah. So that brings up the other thing. But so the Tasmanian devil will it's like it will protect itself kind of like honey badgers do. You know, they'll just tear you up if you mess with them. But they're a docile creature when left alone. But what's funny is in the lore, if you read the lore about Taraba, it's very much talking about the old outback in Australia, and it's making reference to all these indigenous words used for the creatures of Australia.
Mm-hmm.
And even the title of the lore is basically walkabout, which is what Australians do when they go on a long walk and think about things. So
Because the whole because I really wanted to talk about the Tarabot because this is one of my new favorite lore pieces.
All right, let's hear
Like the
Yeah, read
Tasmanian
it, please.
devil aspect, a docile creature that is very protective. Damage it charges up. Am I cutting in and out?
it. Yeah.
Just a little bit.
Okay.
I
Anon, you want to
realized.
read it?
I realized. I was like, wait a second. I can't actually hear him.
I thought he was just
Voice,
dramatically pausing like I do.
I think my voice, that
Yeah, whatever you just
doesn't
did, it
realize
cut.
it's picking up.
Yeah.
Maybe move the microphone a bit closer.
So I'll read the is it Taraba?
Yes.
Okay, I thought it would be Taraba, but you know, whatever. Um,
Well,
we
they
walk
say
where our ancestor.
Yaraba with a Y, which is even funnier. But like T is like the old world spelling of it, the archaic version. Anyway,
We walk where our ancestors once walked. The world is very big again. It used to be small. I know because I was born inside the Comwire satellite data wave skeleton.
note for later.
Okay. But even before that, before the traveler wove us into a tapestry of peculiar threads, this was a planet of big, big worlds. Many of those worlds were lost in a collapse, but not the one you're thinking of. Before the Great Collapse, there was another, a longer, slower, bitterer collapse. Something survive. Names upon rusted signs, phrases and impervious microfiche. Is that it?
Yep.
Microfiche?
Yep.
Yes.
As other guardians save humans, I save worlds, I save stories. That is my mission. Here on the shores of the Hawkesbury Sea, I surface the survivors, the sweet-voiced Koodalong. Why did you make me read this? The sweet
Yes.
kangaroo, the sharp-fanged Taraba. It's a mission the traveler started. After all, she surfaced me.
Boom.
Again, she. Like, I've been saying, like, people have been saying,
Yep.
like, why do you call the traveler a girl? And I'm like, because the Warmind called her a girl. So the traveler is a girl. Deal with it. Like, that's the pronoun that it uses.
Yeah. So what's
So-
crazy is back to the Comwire satellite data wave skeleton.
Mm-hmm.
It's a reference to the pre-collapse array that we had in the Sol system that connected people's communications between the outer colonies and other, whatever. And in the very beginning of Destiny, there was a mission where we had to, go reactivate a satellite because, that's
The
what we
array.
had to do. Yeah, the array. And this is a part of that network. So what's funny is Rasputin's entanglement with all of that, and that's how he can leap, from planet to planet. Or it's speculated that's how his mind is kind of everywhere. Like for instance, when he was leading you with Tchaikovsky's work on Io.
But they say that they remember a collapse before our collapse. So what would that be?
Well, that's what I'm saying. So what if it's happened before?
I don't think it's an actual collapse like what we saw with the Traveler,
Yeah.
or slower, bitterer collapse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Collapse of humanity, like the slow, right now, humanity is kind of collapsing. Environment is kind of having issues. point where it can no longer sustain itself in our solar system.
Well, one of the things that
Down
was
where
cool
then
is
the traveler shows up and
yeah. What was kind of cool is we know about Elsie Bray now and how the Brays and the Exo Stranger are tied together, and how she, in the original storyline, is trying to find a timeline where ultimately a failure isn't imminent. And so that kind of led me to wonder and speculate, is this kind of a little bit of a nod to that? And could there have been an alternate, I don't want to say reality or timeline or parallel or whatever. I just want to say, like, maybe there's something to this that because of the SATCOM networks, Warmind's ability to understand and make logic of what's happening, do they know something about a previous happening? And this is a little bit of that.
Okay, so you're saying the Warminds knew, but even before that, before the Traveler wove us into a tapestry of peculiar threads, this was a planet of big, big worlds.
See, it makes me wonder if the
So it has to be before human society, before the Warminds. That's what this is. But even before that, before the Traveler wove us into a tapestry of peculiar threads, this was a planet of big, big worlds. Many of those worlds were lost in a collapse, but not the one you're thinking of.
Before the Great Collapse, there was
But you see,
another.
the fact that whoever's writing this, right? I know because I was born inside its Comwire satellite data wave skeleton, implies that it's not. I don't know. I mean, this is this.
I'm saying it's pre-humanity.
I don't think it's pre-humanity. That's not what I'm saying.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Cool. What I think is that this is something. If it was born inside this Comwire satellite data wave skeleton, and that is a construction that humanity put together.
Well, the other side of this was, I thought, well, maybe it's just a funny, cheeky remark on us being in game and everything is, binary ones and zeros, and this whole game is the architect of, Bungie's creation, yada yada yada, and this is kind of just a funny, haha, we got you. But the thing that kind of drove me is, if we're to believe that this person writing this, or this entity writing this, is collecting knowledge of previous happenings or of our ancestors and trying to save any kind of semblance of knowledge of whatever was pre our existence or whatever, they're doing it for what they perceive to be like a noble cause, like it says here. This is my mission. Here on the shores of the Hawkbury Sea, I surface the survivors, the sweet-voiced Kudalong, the swift Ganguru, and the sharp-fanged Taraba.
You see, I feel as though this is if you imagine that there is let's imagine that there's some software that exists, and its goal is to catalog the world's information. So let's say it's like Wikipedia, the submind.
Yeah, the broken Wikipedia.
Yeah, like if you imagine a world, like one of the things that I've kind of wondered about before, there's all this information that we have on the internet. It is this a planet of big, big worlds. We have all of these
repositories.
Yeah, they exist all across the planet. And when the collapse arrives, when the darkness arrives, we lose all of that. We lose so much information.
And we have in lore from Destiny 1 where cryptarchs argue about the actual data being true or not that they're presented with. There are a few line items, I can't find them right now, but I've got them saved somewhere in my piles of crap. But there are a few line items where cryptarchs don't even know if the information that they're looking up is necessarily correct, or if it's been manipulated somehow.
I mean, nobody speaks German anymore, so like that's one thing,
What are you
The whole
speaking?
game
It's
is
a
in
weird
German.
dialect of Swedish. Definitely not German.
But I mean, like that. I'm just referencing that line
No, I
from
know. I know what you're
yeah.
referencing. I'm
What's
just
it
saying, I
called?
doubt that's possible. Like,
Yeah,
I'm sure there's
I don't know.
Germans. There's people speaking German. They just don't know
Yeah,
it's German.
perhaps
The Germans.
it sounded a bit French, but
Oh.
I just, I think that there's if my interpretation of this is that the fact that it says I was born inside Comwire satellite data wave skeleton implies to me that this is some sort of artificial intelligence or software.
Yeah.
The collapse that it's talking about is the collapse of our information network, the collapse of the, you know, we rely so much now. If we want to know, like, what is the origin of a
Okay.
particular word, we
Yeah.
go to the internet, and
Yeah.
and that's the thing that we lost.
So hearing that, I agree with you now. So then,
Mm.
the world is very big again. It used to be small. I know because I was born inside the Comwire satellite data wave skeleton. But even before that, before the traveler wove us into a tapestry of peculiar threads, this was a planet of big, big worlds. So it's actually kind of like because I've been watching Supernatural, and Metatron's on Earth, and he's obsessed with like stories, because he's like, every time someone writes a new story, that person's God, and they are writing their own universe, its own world of its own things. So
that's cool.
the internet is the place of big, big worlds, because we have Destiny on the internet, we have this on the internet, we have that story on the internet,
Yeah,
we have
yeah.
this show, this movie, this whatever on
Yeah.
the internet, creating its own universe.
People are creating their own fact.
Yeah. And so then many of these worlds were lost in the collapse, but not the one you're thinking of. Not the collapse that wiped out humanity partway. Before the Great Collapse, before the things that came in the Black Armory pages, there was another, when just the communications, the internet, slowly deteriorated because no one was maintaining
Well, notice
it.
how it says. Notice
Right?
how it says the things
Mm-hmm.
that survived were, very physical things,
Yeah,
like
exactly.
microfiche and rusted signs and phrases, and
Mm-hmm.
it's just crazy. It says, "I save humans, I save worlds, I save stories."
Save
That's my
words.
mission. Sorry, words.
Yeah.
But
I've
that's
said
exactly
worlds
what I
twice.
mean. That's
Yeah, yeah.
exactly what I mean, because it's saving the worlds of stories.
Yeah.
So those are the big worlds. Yeah, no, you've convinced me. That's exactly what it is. So do you think maybe could this be like an AI that like found its way into an exo?
Maybe.
And there's this
I
like
don't know. I don't even know all
there's
that.
like a
but I'm just
traveling
saying-
historian exo just trying to reclaim humanity's histories. And he's just
Well,
like the best at Jeopardy ever.
Well, it's a cool nod, and it's a neat thing for them to put in game so that you can kind of just see, like, we know about these doomsday ideas in sci-fi, where if something was to happen, and all of our technology just was basically set back to zero, what would we be able to do? I mean, ships would just sink directly in the ocean, planes would fall out of the sky, all that kind of stuff, right?
Y2K, yeah, of
Sat-
course.
Yeah. Y2K. Exactly.
History.
Would ships sink though? I mean,
Ships would
No,
fall
just-
out of the ocean. That means going into the sky. My God.
I think
Oh,
that makes more
man.
sense.
Yeah, maybe I did say it the wrong way. Well, what? Okay, so there's a very neat concept, and it's very topical right now because I just kind of threw it out there. But there's this idea, the red barrier, which is all the satellites that are floating out in space right now, and if you were to have one collision between two satellites floating in orbit, it would set off a cascade, almost like billiards on a billiards table, but that explode into many more, almost like a miniature Big Bang around our atmosphere, or around our Earth. And then what happens is all of these fragments of satellites go careening towards other satellites, and they, makes more and more and more. So over a period of 10 years, after one horrible collision between satellites, you could very much end up with what is called a red barrier around the Earth, making it impossible for us to leave Earth, because anything that tries to leave the atmosphere would be shredded by fragments of satellites, and anything trying to make communication would be knocked out because of this huge, just basically just fragments floating around Earth that. And so, what does that do to people on the planet? It resets us to basically the technology advancement of the 1970s.
Mm-hmm. That is. I completely was just like, I don't know what that means to that entry. I was like, I don't get it, and I just like looked away from it. But that's actually really interesting, and absolutely headcanon. There is a Jeopardy exo god just in Australia right now, and I hope that we.
What
meet
was
them.
the name of the AI? What is his name? The big AI that we have, Watson. That's out there right now.
I was
going
to say, do you mean Rasputin? I don't know. What do you?
Well, we have a real one right now, and his name is Watson, and he's learning based on everybody's input into the World Wide Web.
Yeah, Stop and Shop has them now too. It's called Marty.
Marty?
Yeah, have you seen those?
Uh-uh.
They're little Trevors, and they have big googly eyes.
Oh, is that picture that you put on there?
Yeah.
Of the
weeks
shopping
ago.
robot?
Yeah, because it goes around the store, and it literally all it does is it looks for spills, and if there's a spill, it sits next to it, and it alerts someone to come clean it. And I'm like, yeah, useful. It's not even security. It's just looking for spills.
That's how it starts, though.
Yeah. Then it starts spilling itself, like its own. It's like
I am
spilling
useful.
blood.
Nice.
And then we get Trevor. That's all Trevor was.
That's how it started.
Yeah. Guardians
The
were
Roomba.
Started cleaning up spills. Then,
he got the crab-leg attachment.
Did you ever shoot any of the Roombas in the arcology?
Yeah.
Why
all
would
the
you
time.
do that?
Because they're scary.
They scream.
Don't scream. They just.
Yes, they do. Go shoot one right now, and you'll hear
I'm
it
not
scream.
gonna shoot one. You monster.
Why, you afraid? You're afraid it's like some Easter egg that'll delete your Guardian later on?
No. It's like
It's an
saying,
allegiance. It's an allegiance quest. Did you shoot the Roomba? Yes, I did.
You chose wisely, Guardian.
You fool.
I actually shot every Roomba I've ever seen, and I actually haven't seen Trevor, so I think in my game Trevor doesn't exist.
So far, yeah.
I'm just saying that's how it happened.
You. Cool.
Well, the raid.
I'm still not gonna shoot a Roomba.
Well, the Taraba was like the pinnacle raid weapon, right? Because it was the exotic we got, and it's just neat that it talks about a Tasmanian devil. But what was kind of neat in tying this all back to, sorry, that's my ice maker. What was
like,
tying
what
this
is
all
happening?
Back, the world is in tie this all back to like what people were speculating, in the Ahamkara moments out there and the little threads and stuff that are happening. So weapon lore and what we know about some items, some weapons kind of reference that they're talking to you or doing these types of things. And then we have this example of a weapon that takes on kind of a physical representation of what a Tasmanian devil would look like.
I'd assume that's just the designers at that point. I don't think the weapon took on any form itself. Just the designers were like, let's make this look like a Tasmanian devil, and we'll call it the Taraba.
I agree, but you gotta note what's going on out there by people. So so just to make kind of just a comment on that, we don't know anything about that kind of stuff. We do have examples of weapons talking to you, like weapons of sorrow, even talking to you, AIs talking to you.
I wish Rhino had a camera and he can go, I connected 2 points right now.
I just want to keep that, kind of consolidated amongst the people out there. Don't go crazy.
Yeah, because that is just a weapon. It is not a Tasmanian devil that became a gun.
Right.
Or some silliness.
Isn't it?
No.
It's kind of some sort of Doctor Eggman, Doctor Robotnik type situation going on.
What?
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to get into that.
You know, because all of the robots have animals inside of them
Well, I know that.
in Sonic.
Yeah.
So like maybe this is happening in Destiny as well.
I just don't remember. I just don't know what the difference between Eggman and Robotnik is, and I.
Oh, well, I think Eggman is what he's always been called in Japan.
Oh, okay.
Oh, Eggman, yeah.
Because I know him
Yeah.
as Eggman, and like I hear people calling him Robotnik, and I'm like, who the fuck's Robotnik?
Yeah, in the original Sonic the Hedgehog, like because it came with like a manual and stuff. I'm pretty sure. Did it come with the manual? I'm pretty sure it came with the manual.
All the
I'm
games
sure.
used to.
Yeah, I'm positive. I'm like 99% certain that it described him as Dr. Robotnik, and that's where all of the in the localized US and UK and European version.
Let's call him Eggman. That's
I
unnecessary.
do now, but you see, I have a group of friends who get really offended when I use the word Eggman.
Cuckoo
Weird.
Chew.
He is kind of creepy.
Well, I think that's bringing us to our end. I'm gonna close all these tabs. I had like every item open.
I have a few Sonic tabs open now as well.
Yeah, I
Oh
mean
my
they're
God.
necessary at this point. They're such
Yeah.
an established part of this conversation. But so I think this is a good place to stop. Hopefully, so Baxter, you're gonna be at Guardian Con on
I am.
what is it, the 6th, the 5th and the 6th, or the 6th and the 7th?
One of those pairs of dates, yes.
Friday and Saturday, or Saturday and Sunday?
I think it's Friday and Saturday.
Okay.
I arrive on the Thursday, and I'm just going to be pretty jet lagged for at least a few hours. I don't know. And then, yeah, I'll be at Guardian Con for both of the days.
Yeah,
So-
and so you're gonna be on the panel with Mylan,
I-
Bife, and green,
I believe-
blue, purple.
Yeah, all the
All the
colors.
colors and all the animals.
Yeah, I believe so. That's the plan. So, yeah, I'm excited. It should be good. It was really good last year, and I'm looking forward to meeting some of the people that I met last year again. And yeah,
I hope to go next year. Hopefully, maybe all 4 of us can go next year, and we can have a real lot of fun.
that
Except
would
for
be great.
Guardian,
Yeah.
because
He's no fun.
yeah, he's no fun. Yeah, okay, so you are listening. Thanks for joining us this episode. You have your camera on. We can see you now. So if you're at Guardian Con, be sure to say hi to Baxter. We're still going to be recording on the 7th with you.
Yes, that is my plan. I don't see why we wouldn't. What will the time be in Florida?
9 a.m. That's what it is
Cool.
here, because you'll be Eastern with us.
Yeah.
And I was talking to Matt. We might get him for that episode. I wanted him for that episode to come hang
Yeah.
out.
Yeah, that'd be
But
great.
the Guardian Con issue might throw a wrench into that, and then we'll just get him on the one after.
Yeah.
Either way, in between
Cool.
now and then, and before Guardian Con, the Lumina Quest goes live, which I'm expecting that to be the big topic. You know, we're going to talk about that. We're going to be like right on it, very topical. You know, I'm really excited
Yeah.
for it. Hopefully, and I say this every time, like literally every time we get the new lore book, I'm like, finally, the Dwindler saga has ended. Oh wait, no, there's more. And it's not that I'm disappointed that there's more. I'm just like, oh my god,
Yeah.
there's more. There's
Yeah.
more. Like, it's still so good. There's still so much more. Like,
But
John
it's
Goff,
kind of weird as well because like I don't know, like especially with the last books
Yeah.
that we had, it's like, oh wow, there's more. Wait, hang on a second.
Yeah.
What?
It's like, this is the
Changes
last time
everything.
you'll be hearing from me. Oh hey, I forgot to tell you something. Like, god damn it, Shin Melfer.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if Kabir did that?
He was a good man. I didn't know him. So
Imagine if Praetor did that, because he's kind of in some separate weird timey-wimey situation, so they'd all be out of order anyway.
Yeah.
Probably. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe they wouldn't be. I'm not sure.
either way, catch us on July 7th at our regular 9:15 time. We'll be talking about Lumina, Last Word, Shin Malford, Jaren Ward, Dredge and Yor, all that nonsense, because I'm absolutely positive it is involving those characters in some fashion.
We'll find out.
Yes, we will. If you want to follow us and get actual news, I barely ever tweet. We're doing a thing called LC Thoughts, where one of us, if we have a thought, we can tweet it out. And actually, Rhino tweeted his tweet immediately following the stuff, talking about the Hive crystals. He called it way back then. You know, he really had it there.
And I didn't even read the lore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can follow us on Twitter. On Twitter, our pinned tweet has all our information. We upload onto YouTube if you want to watch us. That'll be later today, tomorrow-ish. And we also upload onto Anchor, which uploads to Podbean, to Spotify, to iTunes, to Google, to et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So you can just listen to us if you're just on a drive and you should not have YouTube open. Please use an audio podcast form. Thank you. Bye.
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 Everyone's
Bye.
raving but Guardian.
Guardian waved.